And we're back with Afi Johnson Paris, a partner with Fox Rothschild, and we're discussing all things domestic law, separations, custody, divorces, and everything all in between. The number there is at the bottom of your screen. All right, this first question is, can you lose your rights to your child if you don't have a car?
No. Your access to your child is based on your ability to operate in their best interest. It's not based on what your means are. Money, houses, jobs, all those types of things. That's a child support issue. That's not about custody.
Okay. This one is a little convoluted. This one says, if one of the parents dies, who takes over the custody of the children, married or not? In my case, a verbal agreement was made between one of the parents and the grandparents for them to get custody. But can the living parent keep the kids instead?
Well, when one parent dies, the other parent automatically would be the person who would have custody. And the only way that some third party, like a grandparent or whatever, would have custody is if that parent wasn't fit. So that you can't make a verbal agreement between, a parent and a third party and have that be binding. A court's not going to respect that if there's another parent with rights.
All right, well, that kind of gives me this next question. So many parents, they say, well, if something happens to us, the two of us even, I'm sure I've asked my aunt or whatever to take my kids, but that is not binding.
Absolutely. Now, certainly you want to express your intent for that in your trust and estates documents, but it isn't binding. It's just a wish. Like you can't will children like you could a car or something like that. But it's really important for parents to make their wishes known so that a court could certainly look at that and act upon it if that makes sense.
And have their wishes known on paper.
Right, on paper.
Okay. All right. This next question is, what about when one parent refuses to take the child to school on the days that the parent has the child?
And that is why you need a custody order, because those are those legal custody decisions that I was talking about, education and things like that. And so when that parent has that child, they get to make those big decisions unless the other parent exercises that veto power. And the way you would do that is start a child custody action to have those things sorted out.
And what about if the other parent has the child and they're supposed to be taking them to class or dance class or whatever, and that parent's just not doing it? Does the other parent have to take some kind of action against that parent for not doing what they should be doing?
Absolutely. You would file a child custody action and you would ask the court to give you the power to make those decisions or to order that parent to take the child to school and follow through on the parenting role that they're supposed to do.
Okay. How can I get my ex-husband's name off the deed? It's not on the loan.
Yep, the loan and the deed are actually two separate things. And so you would get a new deed put in place. He'd probably have to agree to that. If you already divorced before you went through equitable distribution, then you might need to do a partition action. It's not going to be something easy. You would probably need to consult with a real estate lawyer if you hadn't already started a family law case.
All right, so this question is, I married my husband and then moved in with him. Who gets the house now?
Well, marital property is everything you own and everything you owe from the date of marriage to the date of separation. So if he brought the home to the marriage and the deed hasn't been changed to put your name on it, then the house is his. Now, the marriage will likely have an interest in the house if it paid the mortgage and built up equity, but otherwise the house belongs to the person who brought it to the marriage.
Okay. This person says, can a parent get child support even if the other parent doesn't work?
Yes, you can. There's what's called our child support guidelines, and for parents who aren't working or make the minimum amount of income below the poverty level, the court tends to award an award of $50 a month for them. And if they're not employed, the court can make them actively seek employment. So yes, you can get support.
All right, I want to go back to the whole who gets the house kind of thing. I think a lot of people think that if you've been married for 7 years, then everything gets split 50-50.
If you've been married for 1 year, everything gets split 50-50. The way they do it is they divide everything that's marital, what you got during the term of the marriage, and that is presumed to be split 50-50. So it's not about how long you've been married, it's about what is marital property.
Okay, and then what the property was before you got married that you brought to the marriage.
Right. Anything that you brought to the marriage tends to be separate property. And as long as you can trace that and show, you brought it to the marriage, as long as you don't, add the spouse to the deed once you get married, that would change. That would be like a gift to the marriage. And so if you want to keep that separate, if you come to a marriage with property, a prenup is always a great idea, just to sort of set forth the rights of what everybody has and make everybody's intentions clear. Gives you an opportunity to talk about those things before you get married. So I think it's a really good tool to protect that property.
And I know a lot of times people get like a little pushback on that, like, well, aren't we going to do everything together? But I also think of, especially if you have adult children or something like that, right, you would want them to be able to know exactly what you wanted versus just making right, the decisions.
Absolutely. I mean, when I think a prenup is particularly important for people who have dependents and they're they're coming to a marriage and maybe they have parents who depend on them or they have children who depend on them. And then people who come with significant property, a prenup is a good idea just to set out the expectations for those assets, not just for if you divorce, but also if you pass,
right,
that it can affect that as well.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with one last segment of your question.